Mitch Marner opens up about what led to his Maple Leafs departure. We'll discuss what he had to say on today's edition of the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner, so is the hockey season. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now. The Vegas Golden Knights are pretty high up there right now when it comes to being Stanley Cup favorite odds on FanDuel. I believe they're tied with the Oilers for the third highest odds. The Maple Leafs a little further down after the offseason that both of those teams had, and they're obviously very linked to each other when it comes to this offseason. Mitch Marner goes from Toronto to Vegas, and we've spoken a lot about what that means for the Maple Leafs and how they're going to try and fill the void of Mitch Marner. I guess we haven't really spoke a whole lot about what it means for Mitch Marner and what he could do in Vegas. But there was a very interesting interview that was on TSN today, stemming from a podcast, actually, that Darren Ferris did not too long ago, opening up about the difficulties of which Mitch Marner had to go through kind of off ice with some rabid fans. And Marner opened up about it with Mark Masters on TSN. We'll play a couple of the clips, some of the sound bites. But Dave, just overall, before we kind of dive into it, like, what did you make of, the situation that I guess led to Mitch Marner deciding that Toronto was just no longer the place for him and his family?
Yeah, I mean we kind of heard that he's dealt with a lot of scrutiny and he hears it by the most. Then it doesn't surprise me that can wear on somebody because when you're constantly around it, it's hard not to. Some people say, "I'll just ignore it." When it gets so personal, right? And you hear how bad it kind of got for him, you can understand why it's. It leaves a bad taste in your mouth, and it can, sway your, how you feel about playing in a certain place as well. I can totally understand where Marner's coming from. I know that there's also the argument of, some of it, when it comes to how far fans took it, you can never go as far as, you should never go as far as what some of the fans had done.
Yeah.
But the narrative around Marner, it's a narrative that was brought upon by things that are said and actions that have been done, not just by him. I'm not saying it's him, but it's the way the agent, what Darren Ferris has said, right? Things that are, that contract sign that he had changed. That's where the narrative flipped.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Like, he was a darling here for the first few years on the rookie contract, and then he dug his heels in and he got paid. And then, it's not that he didn't live up to the contract, but the team never found success. And I think it was because overall, all four of them collectively, the core four, making as much money as they did, everyone kind of looked at it and said, you can't win that way. You can't build a team so top heavy. And it was proven year after year that they couldn't, because they did not win. And when those four players were shut down in the postseason, which happened quite often, there was no one to prop them up, right? There was no secondary scoring, and there wasn't good enough defense and goaltending to really combat the lack of scoring. Now, this past season, they did finally get some good goaltending, and I think they have the best blue line that they had in the Marner era. But still wasn't enough, and they ended up getting eliminated in round two at the hands of the Florida Panthers for the second time in 3 years. And apparently there was some stuff that went on off the ice with Mitch Marner and his family that kind of led to him deciding that being in Toronto just was not going to be in the cards for him and his family any longer. We're alluding to what was done and what was said. Why don't we play the audio clip? Exactly what kind of over the line measures that took place within Leafs Nation that kind of forced Mitch Marner to kind of leave.
Because my wife's father called me and goes, just want to let you know, we've got people sending us screenshots of a guy posting your address online, saying that if people want to come pay us a visit and say, their goodbyes in a quotation way, here's the address. And it was a little tough, obviously. I mean, we kind of dealt with it for the last 2 years in a way. I mean, the market's very passionate. They love the team. I mean, I know it. I was born and raised there. I've been a part of the Leafs Nation for a long time. But when your family safety comes into question, especially having a new son, I don't think it's acceptable. Having full-time security pretty much at your house for 2 weeks after the playoffs just to make sure no one's coming to the house. Also the safety-wise of trying to walk your dog and your child. So it was a little unfortunate, but yeah, it's, we all deal with this stuff. It's just sometimes it happens. Because my wife.
Well,
That's tough to hear.
Yeah, it shouldn't happen. That's disgusting. Like what's gone on? Like at the end of the day, this is a game, people. Like this is a game. Like I know a lot of people like the Maple Leafs are their life and they want to celebrate. They want the team to win so bad, but to send death threats to dox Mitch Marner online and send threats and potentially have people go. I guess there's some stuff that was thrown onto his lawn, apparently as well. And, that's just way overboard, way over the line. And no wonder he didn't want to stay in Toronto. Like I wouldn't want to either. If that's kind of how, people were treating me, my property, my family, especially with a newborn baby, you don't want to be around that. I after hearing that, I completely understand way more now why he left and why he was so kind of stubborn about not wanting to really engage with contract talks here in Toronto. He wanted to run away from the madness, and I don't blame him after hearing that, to be completely honest with you.
I don't, and you know what? The only thing I will blame him on is if it got bad, I get it. It's home. It's tough to leave. But if the Leafs had offered him an opportunity, if it makes sense for us to move on and for you to move on, let's find a solution that's best for both sides, right? I think, look, in the end, they did eventually get something, but he was saying it's been going on for a bit. Like this isn't something that happened.
I'm sure after every playoff where, he failed to live up to his end of the bargain, there are many hooligans and idiots out there that obviously, were either, DMing him things, or maybe they found out where he lived and, went through stuff at the lawn. Maybe they, saw him walking the dog, saw him at the grocery store and gave them some not so nice words. I'm sure that did happen quite often, realistically. And it should never happen. Like, I mean, the guy tried. Like, let's not act like he was out there and just completely dogging it. Like, he tried. He wanted to win with the Maple Leafs. He wanted to win so bad that I think it hurt him a little bit, that he was overthinking things. He put too much pressure on himself, especially later in series, and ultimately it led to, the poor play. I think it just came from literally trying too hard to bring a championship to Toronto. And to hear that the fan base or whoever it was, whether they're fans or just idiots out there, reacted the way they did and kind of went after him and his family. It's hard to hear. It's disgusting, really. It's that there's no place for that at all in society. Like, not sports, not in Toronto, not just in society at all. There shouldn't be a place for anything like that.
No, there shouldn't be, and it's a little disappointing that, and I think that there was a report that it was like a kid in Oakville that they found, they actually found the person that
Doxed them.
That leaked his address, which, come on. I don't get going to that extreme. You can say whatever you want about the person saying how they didn't play well or things like that. But just like leave the personal stuff out of it, especially when it's not even about. I'll even take Marner out of the equation here. Imagine how, like, as he's mentioned, newborn baby, wife, and the family, right? That has to hear about their stuff being leaked online, right? And I know the area. Like, he's literally he lived down the road from me, right?
Yeah,
like, I know
text messages being sent to them and DMs and being like, hey, go, say your goodbyes, that were like in quotations, as he said. Like, it's just a really bizarre thing to say, especially in today's world. You never know what that could mean realistically. Just, disturbing, disgusting behavior. And, you want to get away from it. He's got a newborn son, and he doesn't want him to grow up in the rabid, fishbowl that is Toronto. And look, when you're with Toronto, it's not just, you're not just hearing it on the radio or on the television or on the sidewalk. Like, if his son grows up, he's going to hear it from his classmates, parents, the teachers, maybe even could end up, speaking ill of his father if they never ended up doing anything with the Maple Leafs. So decide to get him and his family out of the situation. So when he says, I did what's best for me and my family, it kind of means a little bit more now, knowing what happened kind of the days following the elimination for the Maple Leafs. I probably wouldn't have wanted to come back either if that had happened to me. So yeah, just a little bit of an insight into what happened, following the exit for Mitch Marner and the crap that he had to deal with, him and his family, unfortunately, which ultimately led to him deciding to leave Toronto and go elsewhere. And now he's in Vegas, and he seems pretty happy. It's a good squad. They're a team that's going to compete for a Stanley Cup. Could maybe Marner be better? Like, is there another level he could reach now that he's in Vegas, away from the craziness, away from a place that made him, overthink and try so hard? Like, maybe now he could have a clear head, less stress, and play free and play better. Let's discuss that next on the Locked On Leafs podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is almost here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits whoever or however you like to bet, whether it's player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It makes for every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, it's easy, it's the best way to add a little bit of energy to your Sundays. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. The Locked On Leafs podcast continues. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti with you, as we are each and every Monday, Wednesday, Friday for the duration of the summer. And a couple of weeks, we'll be back to full time, 5 days a week, starting, Mondays through Fridays. Once we get back to training camp in a couple of weeks here, it's coming quick, man. Holy smokes, is it ever coming quick? And the weather has gotten quite cool also, which makes me feel like hockey's coming even quicker because of that.
Yep. Yeah, you got the NFL coming back, and that's usually roughly around the time where you're expecting the players to come up on the ice. Don't give me that look. I know that looks right now.
Well, speaking of Mitch Marner and him being a fan favorite getting traded away from the Maple Leafs.
Don't do this.
What hurt you more, Dave? Mitch Marner getting traded or Micah Parsons getting traded?
Well, considering the Leafs are not run by a guy who is showing signs of clear mental distress and Jerry Jones.
Anymore. Not since the Harold Ballard days.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yes. I will still go with the dysfunctional Dallas Cowboys, which, funny enough, you think dysfunction, and I'm putting in the Leafs and Cowboys in the situation, and I'm actually taking the Leafs situation right now, even though they haven't won a title in my Stanley Cup in my lifetime. Oh, yeah, wait, sorry. The Cowboys haven't either. Oh, this is so painful.
Yeah, I don't know why you do this to yourself. Being fans of those two teams, and there's a lot of parallels with the Leafs and with the Dallas Cowboys. Funny enough, and and the team's moving on from one of their best players. Both of them in the same summer is kind of interesting as well. But yeah, Mitch Marner opened up earlier, yesterday, I suppose, and in one-on-one interview with Mark Masters. You can check it out on tsn.ca. It's probably up on their YouTube page as well now. But pretty much opened up and talked about how tough it was afterwards, the off-ice harassment, essentially, that he was taking from the fan base or from people, we'll say, within the Toronto area. But he's in Vegas now, and I'm sure he's extremely happy to be there, get away from the madness. And I wonder if he could be a better version of himself without all the stress of playing for his hometown team. Do you think it's possible that Marner could elevate his game to another level now that he's in Vegas, outside of the Toronto Fishbowl?
I think he'll be playing in a better division. Like the Pacific Division is not the most competitive division in the NHL, in my opinion.
Okay, so the opposite. He's playing in a less competitive division. We said better. I thought you meant there. I'm like, I don't know.
No, I think it's like a better situation for him where he's playing. The matchups are better off for him.
He's playing worse teams.
Yeah, like he's like the best team he'll go up against is LA and Edmonton. That's two. Like those are the two teams really, and I just think that I'm sure we already saw day one when he got there, like the way they embraced him. Mm-hmm. I'm sure he's gonna he'll probably put aside a lot of the Toronto stuff. It's gonna take time for him, I think, to get himself comfortable and used to it. But now he's had the whole offseason, I think, to do that. And he's definitely gonna play. I expect it to at least be the same. Like, I was looking on FanDuel and like they have his over under at 94.5 points. 94.5. Like that seems doable for Mitch Marner after he just had 100 points. Now, here's the one caveat to that. We talk about Austin Matthews losing Mitch Marner. Mitch Marner does not have a goal scorer like Austin Matthews in Vegas.
Yes and no. I mean,
Jack Eichel, which is
sneakily too, though, Dave. Pavel Dorofeyev, who is currently slotted to be the left wing on that line to finish up the trio there, sneakily scored 35 goals last year. And that's a name that there's some people listening to this podcast might not even know. Pavel Dorofeyev had a 35 goal season a year ago. So, you get the puck over to him, he can shoot the pill. And when Jack Eichel, when he's playing with a superstar, I mean, he can shoot the puck too. Like Jack Eichel's no slouch, right? Like I think Eichel's had a 40 goal season before, and he's never had a superstar winger next to him quite like Mitch Marner. 36 is his most. He scored 36 in 68 games and 31 a couple of years ago in a 63 game span. But like he's a guy I could see scoring, 35 to 40 goals. Same with Pavel Dorofeyev. So you have 2 30 goal scorers on your line. That kind of makes up for it, doesn't it?
It does. And I do wonder, there'll probably be a bit of an adjustment period under Bruce Cassidy too, right? Like he demands a certain way of playing too. Like Marner's a very two-way responsible player, which I think will help.
I think Marner actually fits Cassidy's system very well. I do. I think that he looks at think about the player that Bruce Cassidy had for the longest time in Boston, right? Patrice Bergeron. Now I get it. Bergeron was a center, but that was his guy. He leaned on Bergeron so much as a premier two-way forward. Mitch Marner is that. Mitch Marner can be that. But he doesn't have to strictly be the shutdown guy because they also have Mark Stone on that same team who could more so be, alleviate Marner off some of those tough defensive matchups. And you deploy him in the offensive zone with Eichel and Dorofeyev. I think those two for sure will be able to cook up some magic. I'm not sure if Mitch Marner can take it to, takes it to like top 5 in the league status. But I don't think Marner's going to take a dip. I think that he'll still flirt with 100 points like he's done over the course of the last 5 years. He'll be in this Selke conversation, much like he's been over the last 5-6 years. I don't expect a dip at all from Mitch Marner. I think that we'll see the same, if possibly even a little bit better. Maybe he does set a new career high. Like, he is coming off a new career high this season. Maybe he can go out there and establish a new career high with Vegas.
It wouldn't. I'm of the opinion, like, if he gets, I think he'll probably be in that 95 to 98 point range. Like,
you don't think, like, cosine no sine, Marner hits 100 his first year in Vegas? You don't see it?
I don't see it. Not the first year. Maybe he can, if he goes on if he maybe finds a way to score more on his own, I think he has to do that. How many goals did he have last year, actually?
27, but he had 26 and 69 the year before, and that's coming off 2 straight 30-goal seasons. 30 and 35 goals in 72 games back in 21-22. That was a monster season for him. Certainly would have surpassed 100 if he was healthy. He missed 10 games that year. But yeah, 35 is a career high for him. So all 3 of those players can pot 30 goals, right? Like, you can get a lot of offense from that line, that top line. That's not even including what he could possibly do on the power play, which could be a juggernaut out there in Vegas.
If he goes out and if he scores, if he goes and throws, gets 100 points, would not be surprised, because we know he is very much capable of doing it. Like to me, it was, he got to 100 by being more of a pass first guy than he was a goal scorer, right? Now the year that he's got 30 goals, the last 30 goal season he had 99 points. Like, he was right there. So he has to be able to maintain that. Like, I'm not worried about his health really too much. Staying healthy in Vegas. I mean, Vegas has always had issues with keeping guys healthy. Sometimes planned, sometimes not planned. But yeah, I mean, I could see 100, but I just want to see how the chemistry works with the guys that he's playing with. Like, yeah, he's playing with good players, but they got to have that chemistry, and will they fit all together on a line?
Yeah, the drop off from Matthews to Eichel is not that significant, right? It's not that significant. So I think that there's certainly, he's saddled up to a pretty solid player. Like, moving on from Matthews to Eichel, not too shabby for him, and into a better situation where he doesn't have to be worried about, what'll happen with his family. He doesn't have to be worried about, Leafs Nation trying to come after him in the media. There's less media, there's less stress, less pressure. And, I think that if Marner can just play free, that's when he's at his best. And I think he'll be able to do that far more in Vegas, which is ultimately why I think that I think he's going to have a career year. I think he's going to set personal highs this season in the points department, both in the regular season and in the playoffs, Dave. I think we see Mitch Marner post regular, playoff numbers this year. And it's going to hurt Leafs Nation. It's going to hurt Leafs Nation to see Marner go off and perform in the postseason. But I think we see it happen, dude. I really do think that it could happen. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll say this about the playoffs, because the playoffs are actually the one area where he's put up points, but is it just about playing in Toronto and the pressure? That's the thing.
Early in the postseason, he's put up points. Those games 5 through 7.
Yeah, that's where that's to me. I don't think it matters where he plays. There's always going to be that pressure in those high stakes games. Yes, Toronto, it does seem immense. I don't know if it's like Vegas is still going to have that pressure. there's still going to be that, can he get it done, or can they get it done? I know Vegas has won before. Maybe that the pressure of that, he doesn't have to deal with the whole 1967 stuff anymore.
Yeah.
But there's still pressure to up your game when other players, like if he's going up against a Leon Draisaitl or Connor McDavid in games 5, 6, and 7, where we're putting our money on in those games, like who we believe is going to come out on top. He's got to be able to show that he can step up above that in those moments. So that's where I remain a little skeptical on that.
So there is a FanDuel special. You go to player specials on FanDuel. Mitch Marner versus Austin Matthews head to head. Who has more points? Who would you bet on, Mitch Marner or Austin Matthews?
Oh, points? I would probably give it to Marner.
He is favored at -142, so quite heavily favored to have more points. His over-under is set at, as you mentioned, I think 94.5. Austin Matthews over-under set at 89.5. So the betting world, the sports book here on FanDuel, our great sponsor, sees a dip in production from Matthews without Marner. Not as much of a dip with Marner without Matthews, but we'll see. That's why I play the games. We'll see how it all works out. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back. Some other news and notes from around the NHL, from around Canadian orientation camp. That's next here on the Locked On Leafs podcast. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti with you as always. And we're taking a look at, some of the Olympic hopefuls over the course of the last couple of days here. They've been all taking part in the Olympic orientation camp out in Calgary. John Tavares, the lone Maple Leaf on Team Canada, taking part in that. He is not considered. He's a very large underdog to make Team Canada. FanDuel has him with the second longest odds to make Team Canada, ahead of only Quinton Byfield, who has longer odds to make the team. So Byfield, then Tavares, and then Bo Horvat comes in with the third longest odds to make Team Canada. Do you think that's true? Does John Tavares have virtually not much of a chance to be an Olympian this year, Dave, when you look at him stacked up against the rest of the hopefuls and roster down at the camp?
I just think of, like, with the way that Four Nations went, like, it just seems like for Canada, they're like, yeah, there's still a chance that guys that didn't play for Four Nations can make the team. And it's like, at the same time, you got to really show that you're much better than what players that played there. I think there's an opportunity. I think there's an opportunity, but I wouldn't put a bet on Tavares making the team, just because it's just so tough when you start off with McDavid, then Crosby, and then also look at the coach. John Cooper's going to take his guys. There's nobody batting as much for John Tavares, because like we see it with George, with Doug Armstrong, with Jordan Binnington and those guys there. We hear about why Logan Thompson is in there, because Bruce Cassidy has a little bit of sway, right, with that roster. Like, I just think, like, unless there's a coach or someone that says, I think we need to give John Tavares a better look here. It's the only way I see that happening.
Yeah, and there's enough leadership on the group where I don't think his leadership and his him being a veteran of the team really holds much weight. Like, you're gonna have Marchand there, you're gonna have Sidney Crosby there, you're gonna have Connor McDavid, obviously. So you've got leadership all throughout the lineup. You don't necessarily need to have a guy like Tavares to be the old man, the elder statesman of the room. There's going to be those guys. So he's going to have to make it onto the team the true old-fashioned way, and that's by beating out everybody else with his skill. And he's got an opportunity. He's got a chance. That's why he was invited to the camp. But, according to the books, and I would agree with them, it is still very much a long shot that Tavares represents Team Canada at the Olympic Games. One name, though, that I find to be astonishingly high in terms of the sports books considering an absolute foregone conclusion that he's on the team and a lock among locks. They've got Sam Bennett at 200 to 1 to make the team. Minus 20,000 at 200 or 1 in 200 actually. So you got to bet $200, you'll win $1. For every $200 you bet, you win $1. That's how strongly FanDuel currently and the betting market, the sports books believe that Sam Bennett is as much a lock as anyone else to make the team this year. And I'm not so sure. Like, I get it. He was on Four Nations. He is the reigning Conn Smythe winner, but I don't think that he's like minus 20,000 lock.
I would say if someone say, can you see Sam Bennett on this team? I was like, yeah, I can see Sam Bennett on this team. It's like, would you be willing to just throw down everything you have on it? Absolutely not. Like they're giving those odds as if it's like, I mean, because technically now people have to remember like guys like McDavid are already named to the team. They're there.
They're not on this list, but like here, let me give you a list of centers and you tell me like just straight up who you would take over Sam Bennett, okay? Crosby or Bennett?
Crosby.
McDavid or Bennett?
McDavid.
Bennett or who else is out there? McKinnon.
Oh, McKinnon. Yeah. There's no debate.
Yeah, Bennett or Point?
I would take Braden Point.
Absolutely, you take Braden Point over Bennett. Here's where I think it comes down to. I think if Sam Bennett makes the team, it's because he beat out these next two players, Sam Bennett or Mark Scheifele.
There's a conversation to be had. I think like Scheifele played well. Mm-hmm. Scheifele's a good player. I get it. He's not. Sam Bennett brings what some people bring is like the talk about like that gamer.
Yeah, the toughness. He brings toughness to the team.
And look, if you are getting Conn Smythe, Sam Bennett, sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take Sam Bennett over Mark Scheifele.
Okay. But Sam Bennett or Nick Suzuki.
Oh.
I think that the fourth line center role is really the only center position up for grabs. Right?
I think so too.
So you're looking at those three guys pretty much. You're looking at Scheifele, you're looking at Suzuki, you're looking at Bennett, you're looking at Tavares. Like those are kind of the guys, you could throw Celebrini into the mix too, actually, if you want to. Who else is also here? Wyatt Johnston could be a guy who's, in the mix there to make that final spot. So those are the guys you're battling with. And I just don't like, he could make the team, don't get me wrong, but to be like minus 20,000, that seems insane to me in terms of betting odds. It's quite high for a guy like Sam Bennett. Considering like Nick Suzuki's like minus 320, or I think it's very much like a coin flip between those two players on who makes the team. The betting market does not think so, but we'll see. Between the two, though, really quickly, Macklin Celebrini or Connor Bedard, who do you think is more likely to make it?
Oh, I think Celebrini, but everyone's keeping Bedard. Like everyone is still, everyone is hoping Bedard can reach that potential. But here's the thing: one has shown it right now, the other one is still trying to find it.
Yeah. I guess you could put it that way. Yeah. I mean,
I'm not saying that Bedard's not a good player at all. It's just, he's clearly struggling to.
Well, it's been a disappointment. It's been a disappointment. He hasn't been that, generational goal scorer that he was billed to be. He doesn't have the most amount of goals in his draft class. I mean, Adam Fantilli, scored more goals than Connor Bedard so far in his career. So there's one. I'm pretty sure Let me see. 2024 NHL draft. I think there's who else would have been. Oh no, it's 2023 draft. My bad. 2023 NHL draft. I think there's someone else who has more goals to this point than Connor Bedard. He's close, actually, very, very close. Okay, that doesn't work that way. Okay, interesting. I was wrong, actually. For some reason, I thought Fantilli had more goals than Bedard. He's got 2 less goals than Bedard. 20 less games played. But I guess he didn't score as many goals in his rookie year as I thought he did, actually, interestingly enough. But last year, Adam Fantilli scored far more than Bedard. Fantilli had a 30-goal a year last season. So, yeah, as of now, it's been a bit of a disappointment for him. Just 45 goals through 150 games. That's Fantilli's on pace to have more than that. And even Leo Carlsson's not far off. He's got 32 goals in 130 games as well. So, yeah, Bedard has not quite been the all-world goal-scoring threat that we were promised when he was coming out of the draft. But still young, still only 20 years old, has tons of time to change that narrative. And we'll see with the Olympics, a spot on the Olympic team on the line. Maybe he kind of digs in and makes that leap this year. I guess we'll see.
We shall see.
All right, that'll do it for us today on the podcast. Thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti. And follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back with another episode for you guys on Monday. Enjoy your weekends, folks. Go Leafs, go. Until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.